What goes around comes around. I still remember the way she looked at them. The brother and sister would sit side by side, notebooks open, pencils ready, their eyes always sharp and eager. Straight A students, brilliant minds. But none of that mattered to her. Mrs. Carver, assistant vice principal, math teacher, and self-proclaimed queen of the school. She walked the halls in expensive suits, flashing gold jewelry, and talking about her trips to Mexico, her grand home, her accountant husband with big-name clients. And she despised those two kids. "They're ne'er-do-wells," she muttered once, loud enough for us all to hear. "Coming from a broken home, you know what happens. Future criminals, mark my words." The brother's face burned red, but he said nothing. His sister gripped her pencil so tightly it snapped in half. The rest of us stared at our desks, too scared to speak. Whenever the news carried a story about crime in the city, Mrs. Carver made sure to read it in class. "This," she'd say, looking right at them, "is what happens when children aren't brought up properly." But the truth was, they were the opposite of everything she accused them of. They read constantly, skipped ahead in classes, won awards no one else in the school could dream of. I still remember the day they took home the science fair trophy, an entire city-wide contest by showing how sunlight and plants could clean polluted water. They even volunteered in community projects, helping to rebuild homes for families in need. And yet, to her, they were destined to fail. Then came the winter break. When we returned, Mrs. Carver was gone. At first, it was just whispers in the hallways, meetings with the principal, teachers speaking in hushed tones, parents crowding the office. Then one morning, Principal Harris walked into our classroom with a police officer at his side. His face was grim. "Students, I have some difficult news." The words that followed stunned us into silence. Mrs. Carver had been arrested. The story unfolded slowly, each headline darker than the last. She and her husband had been running a double life. His accounting firm was laundering millions of dollars. They had been under investigation for years. FBI, DEA, RCMP, even Mexican federal police tracking every move. When a massive drug shipment crossed into the U.S., the whole operation crumbled. Mrs. Carver, who once sneered at kids from poor families, was led away in handcuffs at the airport, caught trying to move dirty cash after yet another Mexican vacation. She, who accused children of being future criminals, was at the very top of a criminal empire. The irony was too sharp to ignore. She and her husband faced decades in prison, first in the US, then Mexico, and finally back in Canada, where she would spend the rest of her life behind bars. Years later, I stumbled on another headline. It wasn't about her, it was about the brother and sister. They had both graduated medical school, side by side, pushing each other to succeed. Now, they were traveling the world with Doctors Without Borders, saving lives in war zones and disaster areas. The two kids she tried to humiliate became healers, and she, the teacher who called them criminals, lived out her days among the very people she claimed they would become. Life has a way of leveling the scales. It turns kings into beggars and victims into victors. Life never stays the same. Like the weather, it changes. Status, power, pride, they can all vanish in a storm. What you send into the world comes back to you, whether kindness or cruelty. She planted contempt and reaped ruin. They endured scorn and rose into greatness. The woman who once mocked children for their poverty was unmasked as the poorest soul of all. In the end, she taught us a lesson she never intended. The world always comes full circle. Stories like these remind us that life always balances the scales. If this tale of resilience and justice spoke to you, subscribe and join us for more stories that prove life's twists are stranger than fiction.